Who would have known in a 6-unit course in college? It'd be a lot of homework. So the last thing we did is we talked about logarithms. We did a few examples of logarithms. So let me kind of review a bit of what we did. And actually, let me also show you. Yeah, so last time we did section 6.3. The only thing we have left to do really is graphing them, and we already sort of graphed it. So we basically already finished through 6.4. We just have to do some examples, yeah.
Are logs going to be on the test?
Say again?
Are logs going to be on the test?
Hell yeah. So again, the test is going from 5.4 up through 6.4, right? Right?
So you expect us in 2 days to just get all this done?
2 days. 2 days?
No, not 2 days. Actually, I'm sorry, days we have class.
Try again. Yeah. You have more days. Hopefully you guys exist when you walk out the door. You don't just suddenly, and then when the time comes, you sort of emerge out of some portal. And you're like, oh. So, real quick, guys. I'm almost certain I had this discussion with you. This is a 6-unit course. Holy shit. It's twice like a normal course. A lot of courses are 3 units. This is 6 units. It is dense. The first day I told you it's dense in topics. Right? What does that mean? That means you had to give up a lot of your time if you were serious about whatever the degree is you're pursuing. So you are all, hopefully, all STEM majors. That's really the only reason you would be taking this course. And STEM degrees are demanding as hell. And you give up your life, a big chunk of your life, not all of it, because you want to maintain sanity, right? To work towards that. Are you guys with me? I don't know. I'm not going to sugarcoat shit, right? So, pre-calculus, really a lot of details, really a lot of concepts. Yes, it is. That's why it's 6 units, right? You guys kind of with me? And I'm sorry if I'm not being, but again, you can do it. We got all kinds of stuff to help you. If my office hours, again, don't work, I could even set up a Zoom time with you. Every single resource there is, though, requires you to go get it, to go to it, to make something happen, yeah?
Yeah, I was told by a calc teacher that pre-calc, when I switched classes, beginning of the semester wasn't ready for calc.
Sure.
Because I was qualified, he told me there was a lot more work for pre-calc.
Okay, then. Why are you looking so shocked at me, then? Shit. Somebody else told you before I did. All right, sorry. So, guys, again, I'm sorry. Hopefully by this point you understand. If you reach out to me with any information about, because I totally get it, trust me. I get it when stuff happens in life. And when you have a 6-unit course and some shit happens in life, those don't mix well, right? I get that more than you know. So all you have to do is frickin' talk to me, right? And we can work something out. Are you with me? I've had people that have, obviously when COVID was happening, we had people that missed huge swaths of time. I know it's still happening, but you guys kind of with me still. So if you hit anything, then I'm going to try to work with you. That's the thing. But if you don't reach out to me, I don't know how I can work with you. Okay. All right. So let's review what we've done. We'll get a little deeper into a couple things, and then it's going to be basically time to leave. So, the basics of logarithms. It's going to happen. Today's lesson brought to you by Lubens, the leader in document technology. Today's lecture brought to you by Optometrists of America. Oh, here. There we go. Okay. So, somebody help me out. What is log base 7 of 49? Now, somebody else tell me, why is the answer 2? Yeah, good. Okay. So again, the reason people do not like logarithms, it's one of the first functions we hit where the function itself is a little word. That is confusing in the first place. So everybody with that I understand. But just like any damn symbol of anything, I have to internalize the question. Logarithms always ask the same freaking question. What power does the base need to become the number inside? So what power does 7 need to become 49? Or you can even say, how many 7s do you have to multiply to become 49? Because that's the definition of exponents. Is that cool? You guys kind of with me? So when I ask you a square root question, that is easy because you have completely internalized the question that the symbol is asking you. This one, you haven't yet. But now you know what it is. So you're going to have to, sort of like when you first learn a language, you're going to have to kind of translate. So you're going to go log. Okay, the logarithm is asking me what power that, okay, now you have a plan of attack. So let me give you one that's a little more psychedelic. How do you think you now, this is what I mean by plan of attack. I'm not expecting anybody to just tell me, well, it's this, Jeff, obviously. Everybody would know. Do you have a plan of attack?
What power do you have to raise 5 to make 6?
So that's the question Log's asking you. It gives you an idea for how to work this. Does anyone have a suggestion as to how to kind of approach this problem? Besides chugging in your calculator. Right?
625 raised, no, 625, we take the fifth root of 625.
No.
No.
Just multiply 5 into
This
5.
is not the power, correct? So the difference between logs and roots, roots tell you what the power is, we're trying to figure out the base. This one tells me what the base is, I'm trying to figure out the power.
So you can put 5 to the x.
Sure. So here's what you can do, you ready? What's 5 to the first power? Holy shit. What's 5 squared? 25. So is the answer 2? No. 5 cubed? 125. Is the answer 3? No. 5 to the fourth. I just multiply this by 5, right?
625.
625. So what's the answer to this?
4.
4.
What's the answer to that? 4. 11. Do you guys understand? So there will be several log problems that you don't have to do any of this work for. It'll be like log base 3 of 9. And you're like, 2, because 3 squared is 9. But then I'm going to give you problems, and it's the idea, it's what the log wants from you that tells you what to try to do. So really all this is saying is how many 5s multiplied by 625? Okay, let me just start multiplying some 5s. Yeah.
Totally off topic. What is your
Oh, something related to calculus too, but it relates all of the important numbers like pi. You guys see pi?
Yeah.
And there's e. We just talked about e. Remember?
What's I then?
I. Come on now.
Imaginary.
Oh,
Imaginary numbers.
Oh yeah, no.
1 is the multiplicative identity. 0 is the additive identity. So math people freak out over this equation. This is a true equation, by the way. You can't prove it till you get to calculus 2. You're like, oh, but you know it now. E to the I pi plus 1 is 0. All right, sorry. Nothing to do with today's lecture. But it's interesting because now you know all the parts. Okay, so help me out. Let me see who freaks out about this. I'm going to leave that up there for some crazy reason. Does anyone know what that is?
4.
No?
Wait, no.
Negative 4. 5 to the fourth is 625. So what kind of power would make that flip? Negative power. You see what I'm saying? So there is another plan of attack. If I ask you a question where it's log base something of 1 over something, do this. What's log base 8 of 64? 2, because it takes 2 eighths to multiply 64. So then the answer to this would be negative 2. Again, what's motivating every step is the fact that the answer has to be the power I need. Negative powers make things flip, right? Can we stop for a minute? Yeah? So, what would I raise 8 to make it 64? 8 times what is 64? So one good thing, how do I say this? One good thing for some of you is you'll be able to use your calculators. We have to freaking know what 8 times 8 is. Okay. But, not some of us are math or multiplication tables. Some of us went to a school where they didn't really focus on that much. There's a lot less memorization being, and I agree, there shouldn't be a lot of memorization, but there has to be some. There must be some memorization. Okay. So 8 squared is 64. What kind of power flips something? Negative power. So if 8 squared is 64, 8 to the negative 2 is 1 over 64, because a negative power makes something flip. So again, something else we all must understand by now is, what would x to the negative 2, how can I rewrite x to the negative 2? What's the negative power mean? So it'll be 1 over x squared. All right, so negative power just means flip. We have to completely understand that, because we're doing shit in reverse now, right? If I have something that was flipped, that must mean it came from a negative power. So, very quickly, what's log base 3 of 9? 2, because 3 squared is 9. So you can always check your work for a log. 3 squared is 9. So what is log base 3 of 1/9? Because the 2 would make it 9, and the negative would flip it. You guys all with me? Okay. Let me stop for a minute. Okay. So what about this? Log base 16 of 2. I'll give you a way to do this also. You could do one of two things. Say again? Totally. It's going to be some kind of a root. So here's a cool thing to realize. What's log base 2 of 16? I'm going to catch up to you guys. How many 2's do I multiply to get 16? 4. So watch this. This is cool. Log base 16 of 2 is 1/4. If 4 2's make 16, the 4th root of 16 is 2. Yes?
If the 2 is negative, it will be negative like that? Or
If that 2 is negative, this thing doesn't work. So let me ask you this question. What number do I raise 2 to make it negative 8?
3 or 9.
1, 2.
This is a trick question, by the way.
3 I.
Nope. I like the idea.
Is it 1, 2?
Well, that's-
Ain't no number. Ain't no number. Now, to be really honest, it is some funky ass thing based on complex numbers. But for us, there's no way to raise 2 to a power and make it negative 8. Especially because right now we're dealing with real numbers. I'm not going to mix complex with logarithms. Is anybody upset about that? Okay.
Really upset. Devastated.
All right. For you, I'll make some problems. So, why do we already know this? Can everybody right now, whatever piece of paper you got, can you just draw 2 to the x? Just really rough sketch. Rough sketch of 2 to the x. Really rough. There's one major thing that I need to see. I'm not going to look at your stuff, right? Okay, I like it. Somebody's telling me to slide the third. I like. Give me a look. No, I'm joking. You got it. Whenever I graph an exponential, what is one of the most important things to know where it is? Okay. What's kind of weird that an exponential has that we might not expect it to have? What happens as they get close to 0 here? As they get really big negatives?
Does it hit 0?
It's an asymptote, yes? Okay. You guys kind of with me? So can an exponential function have a negative number output? No, because this sucker is always up here. That is directly related to, I cannot take the log of a negative number because that requires the output of an exponential to be negative. Okay. You guys semi with me still? Okay. So I'm going to have some just straight up numerical questions, logarithm questions. And what I'm going to need from you, and I'm going to ask for this, is no matter what the question is, and they need a little explanation. So, could somebody just see what this is?
I just gotta put that
1 over
I never showed you.
1 over 3.
Sort of on purpose.
Oh.
Huh? Yeah, it's 1/3. Because what root do I take as 64 to make it 4? 1/3 root. So very quickly, I tried to show you this last time, but let me make sure you guys really understand. What's log base 2 of 4? 2. What's log base 2 is not the best idea, Jeff. Yeah, maybe pick a better base. What's log base 8 of 64? It's log base 8 of 8. 1. What's log, I'm going to leave room right here for a reason. What's log base 8 of 1?
0.
Good. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Except 0, but that's okay. So what must log base 8 of 2, where must it be? Must be between 0 and 1. So any input that is between 1 and the base has to be a root answer. It's got to be some kind of a root, meaning a fractional answer. What root do I take of 8 to make it 2? How many times do I have to cut 8? How many parts do I cut 8 up into to get 2? 3 parts. Yeah, we've done enough cubes to know that x cubed minus 8 would be 222, right? So this would be 1/3. See how that's between 0 and 1, exactly the way it kind of should be as I move down? So then what must be true about log base 8 of 1 over something? It's got to be less than 0. So this will be, how do I flip 8? Negative 1. I like it. Okay, you ready? So last thing for today, and then the rest of you guys can leave. If I wanted to graph a log function, one thing I want us to realize, this is just a rough sketch. So an exponential looks like this. A logarithmic, since it's the inverse, and we did this already, must look like that. So this would be the inverse. You guys with me? So it's got that shape. Logarithms always have this shape.
Logs with the inverse?
Yeah, that's a big thing we did last time.
Exponential.
Logarithms. So if this is this, the inverse function is 2 to the x. Logs are inverses of exponentials. That's exactly the big thing we talked about last time.
Sorry.
That's okay. So if I want to graph this, I now know the shape of it is this, so then I can just get a little more specific. I just need to give myself 3 points. And the points I normally give myself are 1/2 in this case, flip the base, 1, and 2 in this case, the base. So what is log base 2 of 1/2? What do I raise 2 to make it 1/2? What power do I put on 2 to make it 1/2? Negative 1. The negative power makes it flip. What power do I raise 2 to make it 1? 0. Anything to the 0 power is 1. What power do I raise 2 to make it 2? 1. So now that I know the shape, I don't need a ton of points. 1, 2. 1/2, it's negative 1. 0, 1 at 0. At 2, it's 1. And then I just fill in the shape, indicating the asymptote. You guys am I with me? The more I know the shape of a function, the less points I have to give myself to graph it. Okay, that's plenty. So next time we'll be focused on, I'll have the quizzes graded, I'll have the practice tests answer key.
So do we have to have our quiz corrections in by Tuesday?
Let me word it correctly for you. You will be allowed to make corrections to the quiz. You will be allowed to make corrections to the
Yeah, but do we
quiz.
have to have it in by Tuesday?
If you would like the most points you could get back, yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I gave back something to you, right?
Yeah, also
Good.
on my thing, on my this thing, you